Is the Toronto real estate market crashing? Inflation, higher interest rates, global supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine, consumer confidence, all of these play a factor in the state of the real estate market. Concerned? Have questions? Is the real estate market in a free fall? What's next? In today's video, I will be reviewing the Toronto real estate market, and more specifically the GTA Northwest areas of Peel region being Caledon, Brampton and Mississauga, as well as Halton Hills and Orangeville. There is most definitely a shift going on in the real estate market. What is that shift? And what do the numbers show? And what can we expect in the days and months to follow? My name is Evelyn Lopes of the Evelyn Lopes Realty Team and iPro Realty. To understand the shift we are currently experiencing, we need to put everything into context. This graph shows the annual average sale price of homes dating from 1976 to 2021 within the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. More specifically, let's look at the years from 2018 to 2021 being pre-pandemic and pandemic. The market period between 2018 and 2019 showed steady increases in prices hovering around $800,000. This was a balanced market. Early in 2020, around the end of February and the beginning of March, we experienced the onset of the COVID pandemic. For the first 60 days or so, we experienced uncertainty in everything worldwide. And locally, there was a dramatic cooling in the real estate market. Shortly thereafter, there was a dramatic shift again in the marketplace. We experienced massive shortages in the availability of materials and of housing stock. And as a result, prices began to rise sharply. The average price of a home was around $900,000, and market conditions continued to get tighter and demand for housing increased. Consumers were able to move farther away from their place of employment as many were able to work remotely, working and schooling from home, and the inability to really go anywhere increased the need and demand for more space and real estate. Market conditions shifted from a balanced market to a seller's market, and the average price on the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board system went from around $800,000 in 2019 to $900,000 in 2020, and then rose dramatically to about $1.1 in 2021. During this same period, we saw interest rates dramatically shift. From this graph, which is the Bank of Canada overnight benchmark rate history, we can see some changes. Let's concentrate on the period from 2018 to 2022. We can see that rates were steady from 2018 to early 2020 at about 1.75%. In March of 2020, with the COVID situation, rates dramatically fell from 1.75% to 0.25% as the government attempted to keep the economy stimulated during this time of uncertainty. These extremely low rates remained until early 2022. With these historically low rates, home buyers were increasingly wanting to enter the market as carrying costs were low. This fueled demand, but due to continued shortages in the market for several reasons, some of which were covered in part 1 of this video series, the strong seller's market prevailed. You may be asking, what are the 3 market scenarios? The 3 types of markets use the economic principles of supply and demand. A balanced market is when there are equal numbers of buyers and sellers. Homes sell in a reasonable time frame and prices remain stable. We experienced this type of market just prior to the pandemic. A seller's market is when there are more buyers, hence more demand, than there are current homes for sale or supply. In a strong seller's market, like the one we experienced during the height of the pandemic, sellers were in the driver's seat. Prices strengthened or increased. Homes began to sell quicker and often in multiple offers. Offers themselves tended to come in without any conditions. A buyer's market is one where there are more homes on the market or supply than there are buyers or demand. this type of market, buyers have the advantage with more inventory to choose from. Prices remain stable or sometimes soften, and sellers are more open to negotiating. As the COVID situation became more manageable, and now the issue of supply chain shortages, the war in Ukraine, and rising inflation, we saw the Bank of Canada respond with the first rate increase of 0.25% to 50 basis points. On April the 13th, we experienced our second increase of 50 basis points to 1%, and on June the 1st, our third increase of another 50 basis points to 1.5%. We are expecting another rate increase decision on July 13th. In light of present conditions and American rate increases last week, we are expecting another increase forecasted at 50 basis points to 2%. Keep in perspective that the benchmark rate was at 1.75% in early 2020 pre-pandemic. So although the benchmark rates and mortgage rates have increased, they still are historically low and could not be indefinitely kept at those historical low pandemic levels forever. From this graph, Canada mortgage rate history, we can see that although interest rates have increased and will likely continue to do so, the low rates we had during the pandemic period, 2020 to early 2022, were in fact historically some of the lowest rates we have ever seen. So what does all of this mean for buyers and sellers?
So we are definitely seeing a change in the marketplace. We are seeing interest rates rising. Well, what does that mean for the average consumer? It means affordability is decreasing. And how is that reflected in the marketplace? Let's take a look at the stat year within the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, and let's compare year-over-year stat for the month of May. The first graph I wanted to share with you is total residential transactions year-over-year, comparing May 21 to May 22. We'll see that in May of 21 we had 11,903 transactions compared to May of this year where we saw 7,283 transactions. That was down 38.8%. In terms of selling price year over year here within the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, we saw May last year with an average selling price of $1,108,124 compared to May of this year where prices were at $1,212,806. That is up 9.4% year over year. Let's compare new listings year over year. Last year in May, we saw 18,593 listings. May of this year, we saw 18,679 listings, up 0.5%. And lastly, let's compare property days on market year over year. Last year we saw, for the month of May, 15 days on market, and this year we saw 18 days on market. That is up 20%. So what does all this mean? It means that the price of homes compared to last year in May is up significantly. The days on market is also up significantly. The number of properties that are being listed is up slightly. And what all this means is that for home sellers, the price that you can sell your home today is higher than it was a year ago. However, it is now taking longer to sell your home. And so this means that there has to be changes in the way that sellers perceive the market. So what do these numbers tell us? They tell us that there are some changes happening in the marketplace. We can see that the selling price year over year is up 9.4%. So if you sold your house last May and you sold your house this May, on average, you would have sold for 9.4% higher year over year. We also know that the number of listings is increased, but only marginally at 0.5%. We do know that the number of transactions year over year is down. It's down by 38.8%. So it means that homes are coming on the market roughly the same as they did last year, year over year, up slightly at the 0.5%, but the number of homes that are actually selling compared to last year is down 38.8%, which is significant. And what also has been demonstrated that the days on market, so the average time that a home is on the market from the time it's listed to the time that it's sold, is also up 20%. So we're seeing a change from a very strong seller's market, and now it seems to be shifting to a more balanced market. Now let's look at a more local level, beginning with the town of Orangeville for the month of May. In May, there were 123 listings, there were 86 active listings, 46 sales, and the average days on market was 13. The median sold price for all homes was $849,000, and the months of inventory was 1.86. So when months on inventory begin to rise and days on market begin to rise, it shows a shift in the marketplace to a more balanced market. We also see that the average price of a detached home was $924,950, for a semi $672,500, and for a townhome $777,500. For the city of Brampton, we saw 1,646 listings for the month of May alone. 1,268 active listings, 670 sales, with an average days on market of 12. The median sold price for all home types was $1,051,000, and the month of inventory was 1.89. Keep in mind that last year we saw inventory levels as low as 0.6 and 0.7%, so we can see that inventory levels are increasing once again, and days on market are also increasing. The average price of a detached home in Brampton was $1,281,500, with semi-detached being $1,011,000, and townhomes at $967,500. For the town of Caledon, there were 264 listings for the month of May, 240 active, 77 sold, 13 days on market was the average. The median sold price for all home types was $1,330,000, with 3.12 months of inventory. Average detached home selling price was $1,501,111. Semi-detached was $1,150,000, and townhomes were at $995,000. For the city of Mississauga, we saw 1,766 new listings, 1,444 active listings, 630 sold, with 12 days on the market. The median sold price for all home types was $1,027,500, and months of inventory, again, we see an increase to 2.8 months. The average price of a detached home was $1,520,000, for a semi was $1,095,000, and for a townhome was $1,067,500. For Halton Hills for the month of May, we saw 219 listings, 174 active listings, 83 sales, and 11 days on market. The median sold price for all home types was $1,225,000, with 2.09 months of inventory. The average price of a detached home in Halton Hills was $1,327,000, for a semi $800,000, and for a townhome $975,000. So once again, we can see changes in the numbers, the number of new listings increasing, the number of active listings at the end of the month still maintaining a high level, with solds decreasing and days on market increasing, and the month of inventory increasing, all indicators of a change in the market from a very, very strong seller's market to a more balanced market.
We have looked at the real estate market, both pre-pandemic, pandemic, and now from the data reviewed, we can see notable shifts in the marketplace, from a balanced market to a strong seller's market, and now trending back to a more balanced market. What does this mean for the consumer, the buyer, the seller? This is a time of transition, a time of transfer of power, and with that comes confusion and the learning of new rules of engagement.